Okay, the second heading, the New Deal. In 1933, Franklin D. Roosevelt became the President of the United States. His presidency became known as the New Deal because of the promises that he made to Americans. This deal consisted of ideas to get the country and people back on their feet. Soon, millions of Americans were working again. One of the programs was called the Civilian Conservation Corps, or CCC. Young men from all over the country lived in work camps. About 40,000 Floridians participated in the CCC. They received food and clothing, and their paychecks were sent home to their families. So what this meant is that their families lived in one location, like the wife and the children, and then the men lived somewhere else and they worked. And they were paid to live there, and they were fed food and clothing, and then whatever money they made, they sent it back home to their families. Some of the work in Florida consisted of cutting down millions of trees to build fire lines. The CCC also planted 13 million trees in Florida. Well, that's good. They cut them down, but they replanted, and created many of the state parks and wildlife preserves. Other New Deal workers built federal buildings and schools. That's a good point. We need to go back when we get to our school again, and we need to look and see when our school was built, if it was during this time. The CCC also rebuilt the overseas railroad connecting Miami to Key West, originally built by Henry Flagler, but it was destroyed in 1935 by a hurricane. You know, Florida, we love our hurricanes. The reconstruction finished in 1938, and the railroad was opened once again. It helped bring tourism to Key West. It is 100 miles long and has more than 40 bridges. Florida owns many of its conservation projects, parks, and preserves, thanks to President Roosevelt's CCC. Another New Deal program was called the Works Progress Administration, or WPA. This program gave jobs to researchers, writers, and editors. Remember that. One Floridian writer, Zora Neale Hurston, became a very well-known African-American author who wrote about growing up in Florida. Through the New Deal era, many Florida businesses began to redevelop. Industries grew, and Florida's banking business was becoming stronger. Alfred DuPont, I don't know if any of you guys watch NASCAR, but on the side of some of the cars it says DuPont. It's after this gentleman here. Alfred DuPont, a wealthy businessman, took control of a few Florida banks and reestablished them. He bought forest land and used it to start the paper industry in Florida. Paper mills sprang up all around the state. The citrus industry, so that's grapefruit, oranges, navels, tangerines. The citrus industry began to ship fruit to other parts of the country. And by 1939, 3 airlines scheduled flights into Florida. Now remember, there weren't many airplanes around back then. And this is 10 years later after the start of the Great Depression. It's taken 10 years they've been living like this. Because of new roads, businesses, and air flights, tourism, which means people visiting a new place, tourism started to flourish, started to grow. The United States was coming out of the Depression, finally, by the end of the 1930s. Once again, people were able to find jobs and take care of their families. So right here, there's a caption. It says the CCC built this fire tower near Uvalde battlefield. So some of you might want to go on World Book and research some information about this. Okay, I hope reading this has helped you guys. And don't forget now, when you go back and answer these, to look for your keywords. Okay? All right, talk to you guys later. Bye.